Hello, Year 8. Welcome to a video. Today's lesson is a little different, okay? So we're not doing textbook work. We're on Desmos, but it's also a bit different to the Desmos activities that you did last week. So I'm just going to quickly explain what you have to do today, sort of explain how you can think about going about it and what kind of strategies you can use to create graphs. So what we're basically doing today is we're using Desmos to put an equation of a line on the left side of the screen here. And when you do that, the equation, if you create an equation, the line will appear on the graph as such. So I've given you an example of 3 lines that make a triangle, okay? And you can actually change these equations, okay? If I change this equation from -2 to -1, okay, you see it kind of goes up the screen if I go to 0, and then if I make it +1, it keeps going further and further up. But we've still got a triangle here. We've made a triangle with 3 lines on our screen, okay? I can also edit these other lines up here. So if I change the number in front of x, what's going to happen? Well, the number in front of x changes the slope of the line. It's the gradient. Okay, so if I make it a 2, okay, it gets a bit steeper. If I make it a 3, it gets even more steeper. 4, and you can sort of see it changes the shape of my triangle. It's still a triangle, but it's just changing the shape as such. If I make it a fraction or a decimal, okay, that's fine too. You can see it's getting slightly less steep when I do that. Okay, so if I make it 0.3, it's less steep again, 0.2, 0.1, you can see it's getting really slow. If I just make it 0, it becomes completely flat. And then if I make it positive, so I get rid of the negative, and then go 0.5, it's starting to slope upwards. And all of a sudden, I don't have a triangle anymore because those lines aren't going to meet. Okay, my triangle has now actually appeared on the other side when I do this. You can see there's a small triangle going the other way here that I've made this way. So there are multiple ways that you can make a triangle. But you just need to be careful. See here, it doesn't make a triangle. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about why this happens, things that you can think about when you're making your shapes in regards to changing the gradient and the intercept of the line and how that works. So intercept is a bit easier. If you change the intercept, it just goes up or down. The slope doesn't change. So you can see here, it's going through the y-axis at 0.3. If I change the red line to +4, it's now going to go through the axis at 4. If I make it 2, it's now going to go through the axis at 2. So you can change these equations to change where it is up and down by just changing the number afterwards. If I make it negative, okay, it's down here. Now I don't have a triangle anymore. Okay, so you got to kind of think about what value should I put in so that I get a triangle. And what value should I put in for my gradient? Should I make it 1? Should I make it steeper? Should I make a tighter triangle or a bigger triangle? It's up to you as long as you make a triangle. Now, if you notice, what happens when they all have the same number out the front? Well, they're going at the same steepness, so the lines never meet. So if you want to make a shape, you have to avoid the lines having the same gradients. They need to have different gradients. So I'm going to change this one back to 2. I'm going to make this one 1, and I'm going to make this one a -0.5. Okay, and I've got a triangle again. You can change the shape of your triangle or your other shapes as possible. So I recommend you want to have 2 different steepnesses and then have 1 negative, or you want to have 2 negatives with 2 different steepnesses. You just need to experiment with the gradients and the intercepts so that you get the shape that you're looking for. Okay, now this is just an example question. For the next one, okay, I'm asking you to create a square. So there's no equations here. You need to input them yourself. So you have to click into the square here. You have to go y equals, and then pick a number, 3x, let's go -2, okay? Just make sure it's visible on your screen when you pick your number. If you make the numbers too big, they might not appear on your screen very well. So if I go 100x, You see that's not a great line if I go minus 100. So just try and keep it within reason. Okay, and you've got to make a square this time. So you've got to think, okay, if I'm making a square or a rectangle, sorry, it can be any rectangle, don't mind. I've got to think, what gradient am I going to make my other lines? So I've got to make another one. I click underneath to make a new equation. And I go y equals, what am I going to pick? So if I want to make a line that's sort of going across like this, I want to make it negative, but I don't want it to be too negative. So I'm going to try 0.5x. And I want to move it up a bit. How would I move it up the graph? Oh, I'm going to go +3. Okay? So you can kind of see I've almost got this right angle here. It's not quite a right angle, but it's pretty close to what I want. Now, what I would have to do then is I need to add 2 more lines and put in equations that will make a square. Try and get it as close to a square as you can. See if you notice any patterns about the gradients that will actually give you a perfect square. But that's what you need to do. And then for the next one, I want you to make a different polygon. So you can make a pentagon, which is going to need 5 lines, or a hexagon, which you need 6 lines for, or something like that. You can make an octagon, however many equations that you want to insert down on the left here, so that you make that shape. Okay, the number of sides that shape has is going to be the number of lines that you need. Okay, and lastly, for the last slide, you can make an image using any kind of a line. So you can just go nuts. Doesn't have to be a polygon. See what you can make using just equations on the graph here. What kind of shapes can you make? What kind of pictures might you be able to make? That's for you to just sort of be creative, experiment, play around with different equations. What happens when I put something like this? I go x, and then you can use here, I can go square. Okay, oh, it makes a very interesting shape. So for this one, you can go as crazy as you like with your equations. Just add as many lines as you like and see if you can make a picture of some kind that is interesting. In terms of submitting, once you've signed into this activity, I can see what you've done. So when you've finished your work, you can just quit and I'll be able to see what you've done. You don't have to sort of submit it or upload it anywhere. But do make sure that you, when you sign in, you put your name so I can see that it's you and I can check that you've done some work for today. But that's basically today's work. Hope it's a little more interesting or a little bit different. If you have any questions about how to go about it, message me. I'll get back to you. And otherwise, happy graphing. Enjoy.